I woke up today and it had snowed. The snow has mostly melted, but it's put me in such a good mood. I love the snow. I can't believe we've had our first now snow of the season, and it's early November. I know it's like barely a snow. Winter is my favorite season, and I am just so excited and thrilled by the weather. And I thought since the season had turned, it was a perfect opportunity to start picking out my winter TBR, like a very loose winter TBR, and just kind of figuring out what I'm like maybe vibing with. So yeah, stick with me. Let's do this. We're not really going to be looking at things that aren't out yet. We're just going to be shopping my shelves because I'm trying to read more of what I actually own, which, you know, is always a goal to read my actual TV, like physical TBR. So I think we'll start with classics. We'll look at what books I'm kind of vibing with or thinking about. I'll probably pull more than I need, and then I'll talk about more than I need for this, because I'm thinking 5 classics and or literature, and then 5 fantasy. And actually, why don't we start, instead of the classic shelf, we're gonna start on my little piles that I have underneath my sword. Like, I do really want to read this, but winter specifically, maybe Twilight Sleep. Let's just pull this off to make it easier. Maybe Twilight Sleep. It's by Edith Wharton, and for some reason she gives like very wintry vibes. Also, I do really want to read this, although it might be more of a springtime read. I'm also kind of thinking The Luminaries. I don't 100% know what this one is about. Be the favorites. We'll see. It's figure skating, but it is a retelling of Wuthering Heights, I believe. So then in this pile, maybe Arctic Dreams. But I'm not seeing anything shout out at me. Twilight Sleep and The Luminaries are probably the most likely candidates. On my bookshelf, I can tell you for sure, I really want to read Les Mis this winter. That's a top priority. I don't know, this one feels like both autumnal and wintry. Maybe Abigail. Elizabeth Gaskell. North and South. I mean, The Golden Compass, that'd be a good reread. I mean, Hidden Sea. The Nutcracker retelling. That would probably be a good one. This one's a definite. Lucy Carmichael. I can tell you 100% this will be on the winter TBR, so we can just pull that. Maybe Fool of the Family as well, which is a sequel to The Constant Nymph. Same author. Maybe After Midnight, or The Pursuit of Love has been one kind of on my TBR for a while. Night Watch. That I can't tell if this is giving me winter vibes or summer vibes, I'll be honest. And also, okay, for some reason, Christopher Marlowe and Dr. Faustus gives me winter. I read this last year, I think, or was it 2 years ago? That was a good winter one. You know what? Letters to a Young Poet also evokes winter a little bit for me. Oh, you know what? It's not gonna focus. It's Sir Reginald's, or I'm sorry, Reginald's Christmas Revel. I don't know, I think it's Sir Reginald. I do really want to read this one in the springtime. Mariana. This one would make sense. Right? The Woods in Winter. Stella Gibbons. Cold enough for snow if I can get it out. Hello? There we go. Cold enough for snow. That's another one that would make sense. That one feels like it'll make me so sad when I read it though. This summer, it's gonna be this summer. Maybe those. I don't think it's like winter specific, but I do really want to get to Queen's Play. Eileen, this is a wintry book, isn't it? The trailer for the film, and I guess this cover makes it look wintry, so maybe Eileen. Come on, Eileen. Murakami. He's very like January, February to me, so maybe. I think if I'm gonna read a Murakami, I'll probably do Kafka on the Shore. I think this is one of his big ones that I haven't read yet. Or I'll do Dance, 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 which has probably been on my physical TBR the longest. Letter for the King. I mean, it looks like winter. I've wanted to read this one for a really long time as well. So it's quite possible. And we also, of course, have Winter's Tale. I don't think that's going to be this year, though. Nothing that's like shouting to me. For fantasy, these are really giving wintry vibes. You know what, maybe, I think this one, it's probably just the colors and the foiling. I'm not like super excited for that one though. Like I do really want to read it, but it's not like top of my priority list. Maybe continuing on. Angel of the Crows, strong possibility. I can tell you I am going to be reading these, hopefully, this winter. This is the Book of the New Sun. This is books 1 and 2 in this volume, and books 3 and 4 in that volume. I will be reading those. I plan to do a full reading vlog. I guess I could finish this series, Monstrous Nights. Is it weird? I'm kind of getting wintry vibes from Asunder. Maybe a little bit. Actually, you know what? Where is it? The Bone Orchard. This feels like a January book. We're for sure going to do this one. I don't know why I dismissed it immediately, but maybe Wings of Starlight. Maybe Wings of Starlight. Maybe The Everlasting. Maybe wintry vibes. Girl in the Tower. Ballet. I think it's like ballet themed. Maybe. I could be wrong. I think it might be somewhat ballet themed. If I'm wrong, I'm so sorry. But ballet screams winter to me. So that's a strong contender. Obviously. Continuing on with this series with The Crown So Silver. That's a strong contender. Given the vibes as well. Okay, give me a couple minutes. I'm going to try to collect the books and figure out what they are, and then we can talk about them. When I think winter, I think, you know, December, the snows, Christmas time, the cozy, but I also think like January, February, the sort of wet, like muddy snow. It's a little inconvenient, it's bitter out. But as someone who loves the snow and also loves winter, it's not like a time I dislike. It's just like you're waiting for spring and there's a lot of excitement and hope for spring, but also this like eternal presence of winter, and it's very clean. It's very serene. So yeah, let me figure out the books and then we can talk about them. We're going to start with the classics. Number 1, and actually I'm saying number 1, but I will probably read these in not this order. I would be shocked if I did. I think I'm just gonna pick them up as the vibe hits me. But first we have The Woods in Winter by Stella Gibbons. I have quite a few Stella Gibbons books on my shelves, and I just keep saying, not this time. But I think it's finally, I just keep pushing her off and pushing her off, but I think it's finally time. And I really like quieter, I don't want to say cozy necessarily, but small scale stories that are on the charming end, and I think Stella Gibbons is going to fall into that realm. I could be totally wrong. This is The Woods in Winter. It's like not even 200 pages, so it should be very short. And I mean, it's called The Woods in Winter. I would be shocked if it was not a wintry vibe. The back of the book says Ivy Gover, or Gover, a curmudgeonly middle-aged charwoman with some slightly witchy talents, inherits a rural cottage in Buckinghamshire and takes up residence near the tiny village of Little Warby. Having settled in with a rescued dog and a pet pigeon, she manages, despite her antisocial instincts, to have surprising effects on her new neighbors, including Angela Mordaunt, a spinster still mourning her dead beau, Coral and Pearl Carteret, ditzy sisters who have just opened a tea shop, the local vicar, and wealthy Lord Gowerville, whose devotion she earns by healing his beloved dog. But her biggest challenge will be the 12-year-old runaway who shows up at her door. Blending vivid characters and a deep knowledge of human nature, this is also a funny and poignant tale of the challenges and freedoms of old age and solitude. The Woods in Winter was first published in 1970 and was the last novel Stella Gibbons wrote for publication. I didn't realize this was her final novel, so that is an interesting place to be starting with an author with her final novel, but I'm very excited. It sounds like it's going to be just quaint and charming and maybe have a little bit of that like Hallmarky vibe and spirit. And yeah, I just really needed, I think, a little small town story like this. So very excited. Then we have, I did decide, Eileen, Atessa Moshfegh. I have several Atessa Moshfegh novels. I also have Lapona and My Year of Rest and Relaxation. Of those three, My Year of Rest and Relaxation is the one I thought I probably would have started with, but this cover and the trailer of the film really make me think this is going to be like a nice fucked up little meditation on human beings and like the way we want things. That's the vibe I'm getting, and just the coldness of that. So, oh, it actually takes place during Christmas. Let me read you the back. The Christmas season offers little cheer for Eileen Dunlop. Trapped between caring for her alcoholic father and her job as a secretary at the boys' prison, she tempers her dreary days with dreams of escaping to the big city. In the meantime, her nights and weekends are filled with shoplifting and cleaning up her increasingly deranged father's messes. When the beautiful, charismatic Rebecca St. John arrives on the scene, Eileen is enchanted. But soon Eileen's affection for Rebecca will pull her into a crime that far surpasses even her own wild imagination. I would say this sounds like an anti-Hallmark narrative. Actually, because I had decided on Eileen and then had like one spot left of the 5 like classic books I wanted to read, and I was like, Eileen is going to be dark and fucked up, and I shouldn't say fucked up, but it's going to be dark and probably not a happy thing, and that's why I wanted to do Woods in Winter as well. I do feel like these two are going to maybe juxtapose quite nicely with each other this season, and I'm excited for the bitter bone parts of the winter. Then we have A Letter for the King by, and I'm probably gonna mispronounce the name, I'm so sorry, Tonke Drocht. This is translated from, I think, German. Oh, Dutch. It's translated from Dutch. It's, let me read you the back. A young messenger, a secret mission, a kingdom in peril. When Thierry answers a desperate call for help, he finds himself on a perilous mission that could cost him his life. He must deliver a secret letter to the king who lives across the great mountains, a letter upon which the future of the entire realm depends. It means abandoning his home, breaking all the rules, and leaving everything behind, even the knighthood he has dreamed of for so long. Winter is a season closely tied to middle grade novels for me. I think last year I read Green Glass House, and it just hit the spot in this fantastic way. There's something very nostalgic and that evokes childhood in December particularly, but also just in all the early snows of the season. It's a very magical time. It's a very peaceful, quiet time, and I just want to cuddle up with maybe big stories told through small characters. Does that make sense? Like, it is cozy in the way that it is like shrunken down for a middle grade reader. Not to say that a middle grade reader can't enjoy, you know, a complicated book. I want them to be complicated books. I want them to be books written for an audience that they are not talking down to. But I do think that there's something about the comparative simplicity of young reader books that is just really fitting for the winter for me. So, Letter for the King. I am going to try to read this one sooner than later. Probably very early December. And we have, this is going to be like a big project this winter, but I really want to do it. And this is Les Mis. It is so big. I want to treat it similarly to, oh, the font. Oh my goodness, the font is so dense. And there are on these 2 pages 3 paragraph breaks. So, whoa. This is going to be really intense. I want to treat this similarly to how I treated reading Anna Karenina and do a reading vlog series for you guys. So definitely keep an eye out for that. I am not sure exactly how I'm going to split it yet or when I'm going to start it. I think I mentioned that I also want to reread, or I really want to read The Book of the New Sun and do that via reading vlogs as well. So I just have to decide whether I want to do this one first or those first. I have not seen any Les Mis film adaptations, but I have seen Les Mis in the West End, and you know, it was fine. I enjoyed it. It was fantastic. Like, it was a wonderful production, but I didn't know really the story at all. I'm going into this with only the knowledge that I could gather from the musical, and as someone who, I have a hard time sometimes with auditory processing. Auditory processing. Sometimes it's hard, especially with music, which is crazy because I love musicals, but I just had a hard time gathering some of the plot from it. So I am going into this still somewhat blind. I know it's a beloved classic by so many people, and the musical especially is a beloved musical by so many people. The back of it says, oh, this is translated by Julie Rose and obviously written by Victor Hugo. In this major new rendition by the acclaimed translator Julie Rose, Victor Hugo's Les Miserables is revealed in its full, unabridged glory. I should fucking hope this is unabridged. Oh my god. Could you imagine if this was the abridged version? A favorite of readers for nearly 150 years, this stirring tale of crime, punishment, justice, and redemption pulses with life. Featuring such unforgettable characters as the quintessential prisoner of conscience Jean Valjean, the relentless police detective Javert, and the tragic prostitute Fantine and her innocent daughter Cosette. Hugo's epic novel sweeps readers from the French provinces to the back alleys of Paris, and from the battlefield of Waterloo to the bloody ramparts of Paris during the uprising of 1832. This is going to be quite the project. How much of this is notes? Actually, let me check that real quick. The musical is coming back to this much is notes, so it's 1,194 pages. It's coming to Chicago in 2026, so I would really for sure want to read this before the musical comes back, because I would like to go to the musical after having read it and like have a full view of the story and understand it in just a better way. And then finally for the classics, we have Lucy Carmichael by Margaret Kennedy. I told you I would be reading this regardless. I love Margaret Kennedy. I would love to just basically read like a book of hers a season. I did not really get to one in autumn. I did read The Constant Nymph in this summer, and it is one of my favorite classics I have ever read. It pierced me. And the writing is just magical and wonderful. So when I saw that this mermaid collection is what it's called, I think Penguin put it out, maybe. Yeah, Penguin has put out, there were 4 like rediscovered classics by female writers, and the other 3 do interest me, but this one I had pre-ordered because Margaret Kennedy. And yeah, I'm just really excited. It's such a lovely edition too. I just love how it like physically looks. I don't know what it is about. I do not care. Like, it's going to happen regardless. But let me read you the flap and tell you what it is about. Lucy Carmichael is jilted at the altar, but no matter, her loving and kind family never liked her explorer fiancé anyway. Instead of moping or falling into her supportive family's arms, however, Lucy abandons their suburban home, heading for the country. She takes up a teaching position in the industrial town of Ravensbridge. There she finds solace in her work, in her new, rather gossipy colleagues, and rediscovers her sensibly young self. But if Lucy has, despite everything, kept her head, where lies her heart? Yeah, so I'm super excited. Whereas I think The Woods in Winter might be early in the season, I do think Lucy Carmichael might be near the end of the season. Now, the fantasy books. I've got 5 of those as well. I'm actually going to start with one that I did not mention when I was just going through my shelves just now. And it was because as I was pulling the other books, I saw this and I was like, oh my god, yes, for some reason this gives winter. And that is The Gilded Wolves by Roshani Chokshi. The Last Tale of the Flower Bride is one of my favorite novels of all time, and I strongly recommend it to everyone regardless of whether you like fantasy or not. I think it is this beautiful literary novel. And I read an arc of The Swan's Daughter and just am head over heels for it. I can't wait to have a physical copy. But I've had The Gilded Wolves, I've had this whole trilogy for a while, and just I keep not picking it up. All I know is it's like a magical heist story, and I mean, heists are big right now anyways, but there is just something about these that evoke winter to me. Like, every time I think about it, I think snow and ice for some reason. So, the description. Paris, 1889. The city is on the cusp of industry and power, and the Exposition Universelle has breathed new life into the streets and dredged up ancient secrets. Here, no one keeps tabs on dark truths better than treasure hunter and wealthy hotelier Severin Montagnier-Allary. When the Order of Babel coerces him to hunt down an ancient artifact, Severin is offered a treasure he never imagined, his true inheritance. Together with a band of unlikely experts, Severin sets off to explore the dark, glittering heart of Paris. What they find might change the course of history, but only if they can stay alive. So, yes. I've also been in like a reread Six of Crows mood, which might happen this season as well. Because Grishaverse to me is just so wintry, I think understandably. It's like Russia coded. But yeah, heists are also just big. And I was like feeling heists before even the fucking Louvre heist. Although we can blame that. Then we have Wings of Starlight by Alison Staft. I love Alison Staft. She's one of my favorite writers right now. And I'll read anything she's written. The only book I don't like that she wrote is actually her first book. I don't like it very much at all, but everything else I've adored. And I can't wait for The Immortal Game. That's her book coming out next year. I have an e-arc and I cannot wait. I hope to get to that soon. But this is a Disney book. It is about Queen Clarion, and I always forget his name. Mallory. Clarion and Mallory. It's a doomed star-crossed romance. It's a prequel to the Pixie Hollow films, which were, of course, key to me growing up, and Pixie Hollow in general was key to me growing up. So, yeah, I want to read this, and I think, 'tis the season. 'Tis quite the season. Then I will do the last YA novel, which is Yes, Tenderly I Am Devoured by Lyndall Clipstone. This is in case you're wondering, I believe it's Fox and Wit edition. Sorry, the Fake Crate edition. It's beautiful. I love it so much. I love the cover. I love the naked dust jacket, and I love the end pages. So it is very pretty. I think it is also a poly romance, which is particularly thrilling. Expelled from her prestigious boarding school following a violent incident, 18-year-old Lacrimosa Ariskine returns home in disgrace to discover her family on the point of financial ruin. Desperate to save them, she accepts a marriage of convenience to Therion, the chthonic god worshipped by Lark's isolated coastal hometown. But when her betrothal goes horribly wrong, Lark begins to vanish from the mortal realm. Her only hope is to seek help from Alistair Fellmouth. Fellmouth? The brilliant, arrogant boy who was her first heartbreak, and his alluring older sister, Camille. As the trio delve into the folklore of gods, Lark falls under the spell of the Fellmouth siblings. Ensnared by a fervent romance, they perform a bacchanalia with hopes the hedonistic ritual will repair the connection between Lark and her bridegroom. Instead, they draw the ire of something much darker, which seeks to destroy Therian and Lark as well. I don't know why I thought it was ballet coded. I don't know where I'm getting that from. Just being crazy, I guess. Just being crazy. But, I don't know. It's still, there's something about it that is making me think ballet, and I think ballet and I think winter because of the Swan Lake. 100% it's because of Swan Lake. But if anything, this is the time of winter that it's giving me, is like the end of winter, March, when you're seeing finally the shoots of grass coming up through the snow, and that's such a just optimistic time of the year. It's really quite wonderful. But I would still call it winter and not spring. When it's just the grass and it hasn't quite yet, the world hasn't quite yet budded. Then I have The Angel of the Crows by Catherine Addison, one of my absolute favorite authors. She also writes under the name Sarah Monette. She's much more well known for The Goblin Emperor, which is one of my favorite novels of all time. This is a Sherlock Holmes-esque fantasy. This is not the story you think it is. These are not the characters you think they are. This is not the book you are expecting. That's quite a statement. Okay. The author of The Goblin Emperor has created a remarkable alternate world fantasy where angels inhabit every public building and vampires and werewolves walk the streets with human beings in a well-regulated truce. A fantastic utopia except for a few things. Angels can fall, and that fall is like a nuclear bomb in both the physical and metaphysical worlds, and human beings remain human with all their kindness and greed and passions and murderous intent. Jack the Ripper stalks the street of this London too, but this London has an angel, the Angel of the Crows. So I do, like I said, I'm pretty sure it's like a Sherlock Holmes type mystery fantasy, similar to the companions to Goblin Emperor or The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett. I'm really a big fan of this like niche of fantasy, and there's something about this type of story and also like Sherlock Holmes and the like dirty, grimy London, Dickensian, almost London, even though Sherlock Holmes, Dickens, not the same. I know. In my head, they're just kind of mixing in a literary sense. But there's something about that screams winter to me, probably because of the correlations with Dickensian and Christmas Carol and all of that mixing together. But there's also something about the sleet and like the dirty snow. That part of winter is just so key and core to me. And I think also similar to Les Miserables, where it's this coldness associated with winter that can be bleak, but can also be warmed up by good company. I think this is like tied into my feelings that way. So yes, I have a feeling this will be midwinter on like the darkest nights. And then the final book I have pulled for my winter TBR is The Bone Orchard, which I think I told you I was pulling. This is by Sarah Mueller. I have had this on my TBR for a couple years now. It is, as far as I know, the only book Sarah Mueller has written, and it is a book that has absolutely entranced me. And similar to Tenderly I Am Devoured, I think it is really a book that you read towards the end of winter when you're seeing the little grass starting to shoot up, but it's not quite spring. Maybe a little before that, when it still feels like bone cold outside. Secrets grow in the dark. Tucked away behind a notorious house of ill repute, there's a garden where the trees are made of bones. The clattering, ghastly harvest is tended to by the women who live and work at Orchard House. Charm the madam and her haunting beautiful charges: shame, justice, desire, pride, and pain. The wealthy and powerful of Beauregard flock to Orchard House to spend their time and money, indulging in every excess and inclination, except for Charm herself, as she belongs to the Emperor alone. But empires die in the light. Now the Emperor summons Charm to his deathbed to hear his final decree. Charm must choose which of his awful, faithless sons will inherit the empire, by discovering which one is responsible for his own murder. If she completes this final task, she will be freed from a life of bondage and servitude, but she must choose what is more important, her freedom or the taste of revenge. It's a book that I just feel is going to maybe change my life, and I have been eyeing it on my shelves for so long, and yes, this is now the time. This is, again, like a book I think you read towards the end of winter, like that's the vibe I'm getting, but still when like icicles are like off the sides of buildings and can like come down and stab you through the head in this like horrible morbid way. And yeah, that's the winter I associate that book with. So these are my 10 that I really want to read in winter. I am not going to be mad if I don't, but I do think it's a very reasonable stack of books. And more than that, I think they're all books that I highly am anticipating. This one, you can hold me to. I'm definitely going to read Les Mis. It's definitely going to happen. Like I said, it's just, is it before or after Book of the New Sun? I'm not sure yet. It's really just gonna depend on, I don't even know what. It's just gonna depend. I can't believe it finally snowed. The snow has, at this point, since recording the snow outside, it's basically melted. That kind of breaks my heart, but it's only November 9th. So it does make sense that the snow wouldn't stick around. It's not gonna stay that warm out, or it's not gonna stay that cold out. So I do miss the snow already, but I'm so happy it was here, that I visited. I can't wait for it to be a little more permanent, or as permanent as snow can be. Anyway, thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate your company. I would love it if you subscribed. And if you don't, that's okay. I love you anyways, and I will see you guys soon. Bye.